That's my song to Bernanke. That's my little song there for Bernanke. There's no one like you. Why? Because there's no one like Bernanke. As Lindsey Williams said recently, I did a video, 4 out of 5 things Bernanke said he would do in 2002 before he was Fed chairman if we were facing a depressionary, deflationary type of situation. Take interest rates to 0, buy up all these bank assets, print all this money, easing, etc. Right? All these things, he's done all of them except for one. The 5th and final thing he hasn't done yet is devalue the dollar. Those are words out of his mouth. And Lindsey Williams clarified that. Now, what else did Lindsey Williams say? Not this recently time, not the time before that, probably the time before that and the time before that. So basically, sometime in early 2011, when Lindsey Williams came out, one of the things he mentioned that they would do is he said you were going to be making your mortgage payment or rent payment, basically, to the government, the feds, etc. And I thought about that for a while. How are they going to pull that off? I mean, how are you going to make your payment to them? I mean, really, I'm trying to figure this out. You know, got in the back of my mind. And I read a story today, this morning. Ben Bernanke has sent a letter to specific congressmen and senators, the housing and finance, whatever, the housing and whatever group or committee or whatever these bozos are called. And these bozos, if you will, basically, he's trying to convince them why it would be a good idea to allow, quote, financial institutions and organizations to take REO property, repossessed property, bank-owned property, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac owned property, all of the above owned property that I just mentioned. And as we know, Freddie and Franny are now socialized, basically. You know, like a freaking communist country that we're turning into, where they basically bought out, or now are not bought out, but are basically owners of Fannie and Freddie Mac, which are consistently getting more and more bailouts to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars to date. Now, Bernanke's letter that he sent, I don't know when he sent it, a day or two ago, whenever, but it's all over the news now. It's not big news, but it's just a little, it made the news, made a little headline here or there, and I caught it. And his quote in this letter to Congress, I think it would be a good idea to allow the repossessed / repo properties that are owned by all the banking institutions and Fannie and Freddie Mac, by the way, to at least start renting out the properties that they're sitting on. Or else, he says, or else we face even worse economic times. In so many words. So another threat, if you don't do this, it's going to get worse. And as we've already seen, it doesn't matter whether we do or don't do something, it's going to get worse anyways. And then when we do what they say, it's just compounding it, making it 10 times worse at a later date. So he just sent that letter. I read it today, and it says that it's his advice that we need to start allowing these companies, financial institutions, excuse me. And again, it even included in his letter, they even spoke about it, Fannie and Freddie Mac included in this, to allow them to rent out these properties. And at the same time, allow them to lend out, I forgot the term he used. Basically, we need to start lending to more people, and more people aren't qualifying, basically. So we need to try to rework some of the regulation or either the credit system, something, so that some of these people, but not all, because we don't want to just have anybody in these houses, you know, who's not going to pay their bill again. We need to work on that. But the best solution to start with is to allow these places to rent the properties. So in essence, the banks will own everything, and the only reason they were able to own anything in the first place was because you and I gave them trillions of dollars of money. Now they're sitting in all these houses that they've repossessed or just bought for pennies on the dollar on the market, have no one to fill them. They can't give anyone the house as far as a mortgage goes because there's not enough people with good credit anymore. So they're just sitting on all this repossessed real estate and whatnot, bank-owned property. We got to get that out there. So rather than just let them sell it, because again, there's not enough people with credit to buy these houses, and of course, most people don't have enough cash to go out and, you know, buy a house outright, basically. What happens? We need to allow this stuff to be sold, but since we can't, basically what he's saying is since we can't sell it, we need to let them rent it because they're just sitting on it. At least if we let them rent it, then they'll have income coming in. The banks will be more flush with cash, etc. It's gonna, you know, it's gonna save the day. It's a great idea. Yet, the broader picture is exactly what Lindsey Williams said. Once again, incredible speech by Lindsey. Right again, they're gonna own everything, and you are gonna pay the government rent by you paying Fannie and Freddie Mac rent money on garbage real estate assets. You are in turn paying the government that money. You are now paying rent if this takes place, and it's not law yet. It's not even a bill out there yet. But oh, Bernanke, hey, head of the Federal Reserve, I'm the one dealing with the money. If you don't, just like 2008, if you don't bail us out, Frank Paulson, Bernanke, and the rest of them, if you don't bail them out, Wall Street's going to drop thousands of points the next day. It's going to be absolute chaos. There's even talk about martial law if we don't do this. Oh, we got to have that $700 billion TARP fund. And they did it, and it didn't do anything besides give all the banks the money. And again, now they own all this real estate, and the banks still haven't been forced to go bankrupt. They're still being bailed out continuously. 0% interest rates for the banks. Take the money from the Fed, and then park it back with the Fed for 2 or 3 or whatever it is % interest on a 0% interest loan that they got to begin with. Or they went to the Treasury lending window. They had a little special name for that they opened up not too long ago, and said, hey, everybody, see, these banks have paid back all the funds. We told you the taxpayer wouldn't be no burden, they'd get it back. Right, but you also opened up a lending window from the Treasury, so they took the money from the Treasury and then put it in their coffers and then started making payments back on the TARP fund type of money. So, you know, take from one hand, put in the other hand, see, it's back, guys, it's over here, and now they've taken from over here, which you're not supposed to look at. Imagine that. So anyways, I wanted to share that with you because Lindsey Williams is right again if this takes place. Now, he's already right because Ben Bernanke just said what he said he would say, not necessarily him, but the elite would do. He's doing it. He's doing something that no one could have ever predicted in 100 million years, yet Lindsey said they would do it, and this is the first step. This is phase 1 of what they're trying to do, which is what I just said, have you paying rent to the government, ultimately. Will it pass? I don't know. No idea. It's not even in a bill form yet, but Ben Bernanke said they need it. This is my recommendations, and I'm the guy in charge of all this money. I'm seeing where all the money is going to. If you don't want a major economic collapse in your hands, you need to do this. So, if history is our guide, chances are high that it'll turn into a bill, the bill will turn into law, and the next thing you know, we're making rent payments to the government. At the same time, there's that little tiny chance, enough people are waking up, enough people are going to see this for what it is, and say, no, we don't like that idea. But if they come out with phase 2, and phase 2 basically states that we're going to make rent payments. See, if we let things go the way they are for that 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, you're looking at $1,000 a month minimum for this type of neighborhood, this type of house, etc. Rent payment or mortgage payment. If you allow us to do our plan, America, and allow basically the banks and Freddie Mac and your government to own these houses, and then you make the rent payment to the government, notice, rent payment, you never will own it. We could put you in that house for $650 a month, $700 maybe. How's that sound? Oh, anything's better than what I'm paying now. I can't afford $1,100, $1,200 a month. I'm getting cut hours at my job. This is ridiculous. You mean to tell me you can cut my payment in half? Yeah. Well, that's fine with me. Stop the pain, stop the pain. And the sheeple will buy it hook, line, and sinker because they don't even recognize that something's being done against them for deceiving purposes or deceitful purposes. They're being deceived. Elite cause the problem, offer the solution. It's how it's always been, and thus far, it's how it always will be. And I'm hoping that changes soon when enough people wake up thanks to the internet, people like me, my boy Pastor Dowell, you know, there's quite a few others out there too. But that's all I really want to share with you right now. And by the way, I'll end this video with 6 sheriffs or police officers shot in Utah by someone they were trying to serve a warrant on. I believe it was a drug warrant. And the person shot them, killed one officer, critically injured more than one of them, several I guess, and then other ones are hurt pretty decently, but you know, they're going to survive. As I've always said periodically, and of course I'm going to say it now again, does that type of thing seem to be getting better or worse? And the statistics for 2010 were up, breaking records for officer-involved shootings at officers, not officers shooting people, but people shooting back or shooting at the officers to begin with. And in 2011, we just broke 2010's record by, I think the article states, around 16%, if I recall. I don't have it in front of me. So again, and in my own area over here, Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department, which I volunteer for, they talk about that stuff all the time. They recognize, oh, we're no longer getting sheriffs dying per year through car accidents, or cops, police officers in the state of Florida. #1 killer was car accidents. Either pursuit, someone hit them on the side of the road, something car accident related, killed them. Now that's been overtaken, as of last year, has been overtaken by bullet wounds, you know, gunshots. So this is the world we live in, and it's not getting better anytime soon, and these elite are going to make this get worse. It's not even going to make it. It just happens by what they're doing will get worse. People are going to get fed up. We need to do something. Police departments are letting go of more officers. What are we going to do? And the next thing you know, the federal government's going to try to step in and say, well, we nationalized Freddie and Fannie Mac. We nationalized basically the banks because we bailed them out. We're part owners. And now we're going to have to nationalize the police departments across the world. So now the local police are going to be federal police, and the federal police better follow the higher-ups' orders, as in all military structures, or else you're going to be without a job, Mr. Police Officer, and you don't want to join those protesters over there, do you? You saw what happened to them. You know you violated their rights because your sergeant or lieutenant told you to, and all you're doing is, I'm following orders. I got orders to follow. I don't follow orders. I don't have a job. If you got a problem, take it with higher command who gave me the order. Well, who gave you the order? Well, my sergeant. You know, you can call back later. And then you go to court, and the court says, well, you know, maybe the sergeant was in the right, maybe he wasn't. Doesn't matter. The bottom line is you got dealt with inappropriately, arrested inappropriately, unlawfully, etc. And it may be years before you get settled out in court. It's not going to matter anymore. And that officer who did it's not going to be held accountable because his higher up told him to do it. I got an order from my sergeant. I have got to obey those orders. Have a nice day. When that goes to the federal level, and you see police departments getting federalized, federal grants, federal whatever, to keep them in business, because the destruction of property prices and everything else means destruction of revenue to them because of taxes and whatnot, property taxes, things are going to get worse. We need more police officers, yet we can't keep the ones we have. We can't pay them enough. What's going on? The federal government will probably try to step in and say, well, we'll just federalize them and just pay them through federal funds. Now we basically have a printing press over here. We'll just keep making money up and paying everybody. So God help us if that happens. It's definitely a possibility. And then they're really going to follow those orders, the orders that they would have never even followed under police department policy, and said, look, I know my sergeant told me to do that, but that's just, I'm not going to do that. Now when it's federalized and you realize I'm either with them or with you sheep bozos, much as I know this is wrong, I got a life, I got a family I got to feed, I've got bills I got to pay still, I'm going with them because they've got the guns, they've got the power, they've got the authority. And you sheeple, sorry, that's usually how that's going to go down. That's what history shows. So you need to be prepared for these times. Anyways, I got to run. Have a nice day.